Hey everyone, it is Michael with Urgent Backyard Orchards, and I'm in a great mood. I've just gotten back from vacation, so I'm nice and relaxed and chilled. It is a beautiful day here in Southern California, and there's a lot of great stuff happening in the orchard. I have gone from roughly 45 fruit trees at the beginning of this year to now over 65 fruit trees in the ground and another 25 roughly that are in pots. So about 90 trees that are on the property altogether. So we've been busy growing out the orchard. We're gonna cover step by step, tree by tree, everything that's here on the property. So we're gonna talk about the berries, particularly the blackberries and the blueberries. The stone fruits are doing really well and are coming and are ripening as we speak. As you can see over my shoulder, these are the apricots and the plums and the nectarine and the peaches all in one tree. So we'll talk about that. But they're doing really well. The bananas are growing. I've got about 7 varieties of mango in ground, another 3 in pots. I've got about 8 varieties of grapes and everything in between. I'll introduce a bunch of tropicals that I put into the orchard this spring. So this is gonna be a video where, again, we're gonna take our time. We're gonna walk through it tree by tree. It's a video to kind of sit back, relax, if you wanna see the full depth of what's happening here in the orchard. And we're gonna get into it. So let's do it right about now. Okay, everybody, we're gonna start. Oh man, look at this beauty right here. Let's come back to the blackberries in just a second. That's such a incredible success, but let's start over to the right a little bit. Multi-bud cherry tree. Cherry trees in my region are a little hard to grow here in Southern California. It doesn't quite get cold enough. I'm probably gonna pull this out. It's a 4-in-1. Probably gonna pull this out and put in some lower chill variety cherries, and hopefully we'll get cherries. It's been here for a while, hasn't done much. This is about the 3rd season for this multi-bud stone fruit tree, and it is doing fantastic. Look at the height on it. It's getting vigorous. It is 4 stone fruits on one tree: nectarine, peach, plum, and apricot. Here's the apricots. I mean, everywhere you look, it's just loaded with apricots, going all the way up to the basketball backboard. And then here is the peach section. So that's, it's fuzzy. Get a little separation, one branch. These are apricots. These are peaches. Let me just go down again so you can see where they graft on 4 different varieties. And so that's the peach section, and there's tons of peaches all over. And then we move over to the nectarines. The nectarines are here. I don't know if you can see those, but if you see some red starting to come in, there's red there. Some more over here. And then the plums are in the back. We'll get to that later, but there's probably about 200 to 400 pieces of fruit in this tree. What a wonderful tree if you're trying to save space and you're trying to get a variety of trees on, or fruit on one tree. Consider a multi-bud tree. Now the blackberries. I mean, this looks like a Christmas tree. I did a video on a problem I had with the vines going everywhere, coming onto kind of the pavement, just out of control. And then I started using the tree as a trellis. And this has been a spectacular result. Look at the colors: blue, green, not blue, but purple, green, red, yellow. And the deep purple are the ripe blackberries. We're gonna be picking these off. You can make jams, blackberry pie. I mean, there's so many. I'm gonna zoom in for you guys. It goes all the way up. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Way up in there. Didn't come in super clear, but I think you can kind of see how it's just going up the maple tree, doing extremely well. And then this one I'm going to cut off, but I wanted to show you guys that blackberries and raspberries, they do expand and grow. This is an offshoot from the other one. And I'm going to cut this out because it's kind of getting into the apple tree zone. We don't want that, but I wanted to show you just how vigorous these blackberries are growing and how they're doing. Blackberry trees, not even bushes and vines. They're trees in my orchard. Here are the apple trees. This is a red Fuji and a granny. And there's a few. There's a couple down there you can see. There are several up higher. And doing well. We're gonna have apples this year, which is exciting. This is super important in my orchard because the apples here, the grannies, the galas, the pink ladies, the red Fujis, they're late season. September, October, November, December. So they fill a nice gap when we're trying to get this concept of successive ripening. We have sage, forgot to cover the lavenders. Want to talk briefly how important it is to have ornamental and other varieties of plants that attract pollinators year round. I don't do any hand pollination. It's all done by nature at this point. I used to, but we got too much stuff going on here. I need the nature to do its work. So that's an important element of it, to make sure you have those things that attract the bees and the other insects. Raspberries are very delicate. They don't like a lot of heat. When it starts getting over 85, they struggle. Makes it tough to grow, which is why I've got some protection for when it gets hot. So we'll see how these do, kind of the second attempt. Caroline is a good red raspberry. The other is an Ann, which is a yellow, kind of goldish raspberry. Just wanted to show you a couple right there of what it looks like. And these others that are growing are, I believe, from the previous set of raspberries that kind of died out and I replanted them. So we'll see how they do. But that's a raspberry. And then the last fruit tree I wanted to highlight in this area, those were 9 that we just covered. The 9th here is a miracle tree. I've got 3 miracle trees in the ground. This is the 3rd. I'm gonna keep 2 of the 3 and just trying to figure out which locations are gonna do best for the miracle tree. In this area, we got some grapes and berries and other stone fruits and mangoes. This is a Maha Chinook. It's doing pretty well. I worry a little bit about the mangoes in this area because it's not gonna get a lot of sunlight. That could be a good thing because I get very, very high heat in the summertime. So maybe having it in this kind of protected area will do it well. That's a ladyfinger grape. It's a green grape. Put this in the ground this spring. It's doing well. This one is an Angie. It's trying to carry fruit. This one has a little bit of powder mildew on it, powdery mildew, but it's trying to produce fruit. I have made a mistake in the past on letting trees this size produce fruit. It really not only stunts its growth, it really weakens the mango tree when they carry fruit that young. So if it does, I'll let it get bigger, and if it gets bigger to about a quarter size, I'll take it off to make sure it doesn't stunt the tree. We've got boysenberries. Just put this guy in the ground a couple of months ago. It's already producing. Again, in a very well shaded, protected area. Here's the back side of the blackberries that are growing. This side does not get a lot of sun. I don't have high expectations that they will produce sweet fruit, but we've got one here I'm gonna try, see how it tastes compared to the side that's getting more sun. But as you can see, it's just growing incredibly well, putting on more flower, more fruit. This is Satsuma plum, one of my folks' favorite, my father's favorite fruit, plums. Santa Rosa is really popular, and I do have the Santa Rosa on the 4-in-1 tree. But for my taste buds, I like the Satsuma better. If you're out there looking for a great plum, if you like your plums sweeter, I would go with the Santa Rosa. If you want it with a little bit more tartness and a little bit more punch, go with the Santa Rosa. But just tons of fruit on this tree. They're hard to see because they're still green, but this is doing really well. Look at that. Look at these guys. That one's not gonna do well. Let's drop that off and let it become part of the mulch. And then here's the backside of the 4-in-1 tree. And these are the plums. So we got a lot of plums, a lot of nectarines, a lot of peaches, a lot of apricots. There we are, more plums on the Satsuma. Santa Rosa was on the 4-in-1, as I mentioned. And I've done some videos on this. We've been through a journey with this nectarine tree. Check out the other videos to get more details on it. Pain and joy. And man, I don't even want to cover it here. Check out some of the other videos that I have on the nectarines, and you'll see some of the challenges we've gone through. But this has been a great tree. What you see here, just to give you a short explanation, is that the nectarines overloaded the branches. Some of the branches broke, and now I've had to prop up in a very unelegant way, but in a way that's working to keep the other branches intact and make sure I don't make the mistake again of letting a tree that is very prolific put on too much fruit, more than what the tree can handle. Check out my other video if you want to get more details on it. But look at that. That is beautiful though. Look at all the red, beautiful red nectarines. All right, we're going to continue this deep dive with the citrus section. Now, I live in a place in the Inland Empire, Southern California, you know, near Riverside, and this is supposed to be the easiest place in the world to grow citrus. And for me, I've had a little bit of mixed results. And I think it's due to a lot of things. I'll cover that in a separate video at some point. But I think it's soil. I think it's sun. It now has a lot more sun than it used to, because there used to be big oak trees on my neighbor's yard that are no longer here. So I think that's going to help. I think I have an ant problem. I have tons of ants that I think are carrying bad guys up the tree. So I'm going to have to get some tanglefoot or get something to prevent them from going up the trees. But it's been mixed results. This is a pink lemonade. It's a variegated lemon, which means it's like a Eureka lemon, the typical lemon you find in the market, but it is the fruit inside, the flesh is pink, and it's a little bit of a sweeter taste, almost like pink lemonade. So that's a very cool plant. Has not been prolific. Matter of fact, it's gone through a little bit of kind of a downturn. It looks like it's kind of picking back up now, getting some decent growth on it. We'll see what happens. This is a 2-in-1 planting. I just bought this. Matter of fact, I bought this from Louis' nursery. Did a video on this when I picked up these guys. The one on the left is a lemon tree, Eureka, traditional Eureka lemon. And then the other is a lime, key lime. Let's be able to make some great key lime pie in the future. Moving on, this is a blood orange. These guys tend to produce about every other year. It looks like this is the year it's going to produce. And citrus is super hard to see at this stage, the fruit. I have no idea how many I have. I could have 8 or I could have 80, and I wouldn't know at this point because they're too small and it's hard to see. I'm just looking around a little bit. I would venture to guess I've got about 20 to 30 that's going to be on this tree this year, but we'll see. This is Oro Blanco. It's struggling a little bit. Just trying to get more mulch on it, get more feeding to it, get it to grow. I don't know if you're picking up on these wanderers, this ornamental plant, these purple plants here, but the bees are just, when I was Hold on, you might be able to hear them. Yeah, I'm gonna back up a little bit. They're talking to me, but they just love these flowers, and they're here just about year round. So another good example of having, the environment that attracts the pollinators. I don't have any hives. I don't have any, no beehives on the property. So everything that comes to the yard is because they know that it's good eating over here, and this is the place to be. Here is Oro Blanco, one of my favorite fruits, period, top 3. And it struggled a little bit. I bought it with fruit on it, but it hasn't replicated the same tenacity or the same productivity that it had when I bought it. And again, I think there's a few things that I've got to continue to correct and address. It is growing, so we'll see how it goes. There's a few pieces of fruit on it. Here's a mandarin. This is a gold nugget. It's a late season. So if you're looking for a nice late season citrus, the gold nugget mandarin is a good one. The latest that I'm aware of is the Valencia orange. It's kind of a garden variety citrus or orange, the Valencia, but it's it lasts till around May or June, which is great. Hold on, there's quite a few. Look at this. Look at the blood orange. Didn't realize they're starting to grow and become a little bit more evident. Look at that guy down there. These won't be ready. They hold for a long time and develop for a long time. They will not be ready until January of next year. The tangelo is looking incredible. Now, I have issues sometimes with the fruit getting fertilized and developing and then dropping. It's getting to a size where I'm starting to get more confident. It's getting to a size that will typically hold once it starts getting past about this size. And if this holds, we're gonna have well over 200 pieces of fruit on this tangelo tree alone. So that's exciting. Got to make sure it stays well fed and nourished, because it's gonna be a heavy producer for us this year. And then let's round out the citrus zone with the caracara. Man, the bees are out. But the caracara, let me step over here, get out of their way. The caracara is another great tasting orange with kind of a orangish, reddish flesh. And it flowered, produced some fruit, and it fell off. So I don't think we'll get it this year. We'll just focus on growing it. But that's the citrus zone. And my goal out of the citrus is to really have, several. I want the grapefruits. That's why I got 2 Oro Blanco grapefruits, because I love that grapefruit. And the rest, I want, lemons and limes. So we've got 3 of those between those 2 kinds of fruit. And then the rest, the other 1, 2, 3, 4. The other 4 are kind of oranges, mandarins, oranges, stuff like that. And if I can get 3 of the 4 producing well every year, I'll be a pretty happy camper. So that's citrus, kind of mixed results, but it's growing and developing and kind of improving year over year, which is what we want. Let's talk about the banana trees. And the first thing anybody out there that is really experienced in growing bananas is going to tell me is that you've made an incredible mistake by having so many stalks of banana growing in the same pod. The conventional wisdom, which I tend to agree, is that you need to have about 3, maybe 4 stalks within a pod. And if you get more than that, it kind of saps the resources and it takes longer for the fruit to grow, and the racks of bananas are not as big. Let me just pan up to show you how well they're growing. They're growing well. I need to come up and trim. The other thing that they tell you is to keep the banana tree focused on growing and developing fruit, take off all but about 3 leaves on each stalk. So think 3 leaves on each stalk and 3 or 4 stalks in a pod, and that is probably the best way you're going to maximize it. So I will do that in a little bit. I am going to work on cutting these out. This is the apple, excuse me, this is not the apple, this is the ice cream banana in this pod. The other pod over there is the apple Manzano banana. And these things, you know, are pretty valuable to sell. I can cut these out and sell them and still have a couple of stalks growing each year for myself. So that's probably what I'm going to do next. Let me just show you a little bit. That's the Manzano apple banana pod. Similar situation. I mean, that's about 10 stalks over there, another 8 to 10 over here. Really too many. But overall, it's doing well. It's just producing about 1 bunch of banana a year, and I got to get that production up a little higher. This right here is the pomegranate Granada. It's kind of covered up, a little hard to see, but we got the Granada right there. Let's make our way this way. And these are grapes. Not doing super well at the moment, but these are Concord grapes. Parfianca, and I just want to point out how absolutely beautiful it is looking at the pomegranate flowers. Man, I just love this time of year when the pomegranates are blooming. Hard to beat that from a beauty standpoint of a fruit tree, these pomegranate flowers. And the Parfianca is I believe it's a Russian variety. Really great tasting, kind of a unique taste. I did a lot of pruning this summer to kind of open it up a little bit, but it's growing vigorously. And same here with the Wonderful. This is the variety that you see in stores. Some of the flowers are already converted into fruit. You get a lot of drop off from the flowers. A lot will fall off. Some of those are male flowers, and some of those are female flowers that just didn't take. And my bees have even learned how to pollinate the pomegranates. They didn't understand it the first year I put it in. Hummingbirds were doing a little bit of the job. They didn't really set a lot of fruit, but now the bees have figured out that there's some good nectar in there, and they're going towards it. And then here's the angel red, my 4th. If you can't tell, pomegranates are my favorite fruit of all time. And so I have a nice little collection of 4 different varieties, and they all have different tastes. So if you haven't had a chance to taste anything other than the varieties you find in the store, you know, get out to a farmer's market, a reputable one, not one that's just buying pomegranates from the grocery store and taking it out and putting it on the stand and saying it's organic, but ones that's actually coming from homegrown and different varieties besides the Wonderful. And it's just interesting how unique and different some of these pomegranates taste. So those are pomegranates. We've got the Loquats over here coming to the end of the season. They're really at the end. There's a couple more on this Oliver that's wrapping up. And then we've got what is this? This is the Champagne Loquat. My sister loves these, and give quite a bit to her. I'm gonna take the last few off. They're starting to shrivel up. They're pretty much done, but 2 different varieties of Loquats in the orchard. Miracle Tree, not doing well. This is probably gonna get replaced and something else will go here. I don't know what. I'm about at capacity. I have gotten almost everything that I want in the orchard. So I'm not sure what else I will add. And a couple more things over here in this zone we'll point out. Grapevine row. We've got several different varieties, Suffolk Red. We've got the Maluka, Black Maluka. I think that's how you pronounce it. Black Manuka. Black Manuka. We've got Interlaken, which is a green grape. So different varieties here in this area. They're doing all right. We'll see what happens when they get to the peak of summer. See if they hold up and see if we can get them ready for next year. And then the last one I'll spotlight in this area is a lychee, Sweetheart Lychee. Client recommended that I put lychees in the ground. And so I did, got a couple and have stuck them in the ground. And here's one. The thing to call out about lychees, if you're in a very hot climate, I understand that they struggle. And so I put this kind of in a microclimate where it's protected by palm trees and various other trees that are around. So it's going to be a lot cooler here. And I'm hoping that when we get into the heat of summer, the peak of summer, we're going to have enough protection, and it's going to be in this nice little microclimate. It's probably going to be about 10, 15 degrees cooler than other parts of the orchard that are exposed, that I'm hoping it's going to do well. So that concludes kind of this zone right here that has bananas, pomegranates, loquats, grapes, lychees, miracle berry. And I think that's it. I think that covered everything in this zone. Okay, let's pick it up with Jaboticaba. And this is a Brazilian, it's called a Brazilian grape tree. What's unique about this tree is that it actually, show you the picture on it, left the tag on it. Look at that, isn't that unique? It produces these grape-like fruit that grows right on the bark, which is really interesting, unique. The taste is kind of like a, I don't know, a cross between a grape and a plum. Very sweetish, sweet kind of taste, sweeter than a typical grape, rich in flavor, and just a unique specimen to have in the orchard. They grow slow, take several years, up to 5 to 8 years sometimes to produce fruit. But this one's been growing nicely. It's been in the ground for a little bit, and it's doing well. Let's move over. We'll cover the mangoes in a second. We've got kind of mango row happening here. But let's talk about the avocados. Another slow growing plant that sometimes takes a long time to grow. I've had them produce fruit. They start to develop small pieces of fruit, and then they drop. We've got a few here. Look at that. That's a little baby avocado growing. There's a few more. I'm hoping we're going to make it and actually have fruit late this year, early next year. This is a lamb Haas. So that's a variety that flowers at the same time as this one, which is a fuerte. I got them because they cover between these two avocados, even though they flower at the same time, which is what you want. Help with cross-pollination. One's an A, one's a B. But they also fruit at different times of the year. One holds on to the fruit and takes longer to develop. And you get virtually year-round production between these two avocados. So when I chose avocados, I wanted to dedicate space to about 2. And so I chose the lamb Haas and the fuerte because of the harvest season and how it spreads out over 11 months virtually out of the year. Mulberry tree right over here. I did a video on that, check that out. Try to find one that is from a cutting if you want to get results quick. But an incredible tree that's going to grow big. It's going to provide shade for some of these other trees. It does really well, grows well in hot climates as well. I said well quite a bit, but you get the picture, you get the point. And as we move up the steep hillside, I just did a video on this sweet tart mango. I did speaking of hillside, how to plant on a hillside. So if you're interested in learning how to plant and utilize parts of your property that you normally wouldn't use, you're not going to play basketball, you're not going to have a pool, you're not going to have a barbecue grill area on a steep hillside. What a wonderful place to actually put a fruit tree. So that's what I did, and check out the video on that goes into detail about it. Let's move down a little bit. another set of apple trees, a granny and a pink lady. I like pink ladies. I don't know if you guys have tried pink lady apples, but I really like them. Again, they're late season. Look at the size of these apples. They're growing nicely. First year producing, first year in the ground. These were bare root. Got these from Home Depot. Found bare root and stuck them in the ground. I want to say, I'll have to go back and check my notes, but I want to say around February. That's my guess. And so they've reacted very well. Well, one's producing, but they're both doing well, doing healthy. 2-in-1 planting. So I've got 2 apple trees in one space. So you'll notice that I've done that quite a bit to get cross-pollination close to one another and to maximize space. Here's mangoes. This is an orange sherbet. The mangoes are looking a little haggard, a little tattered, a little stressed out, trying to grow fruit, having some, look like some challenges, health challenges. But I think the main thing I need to do is give it more foliar feeding. This looked really good coming out of summer last year, and it struggled over winter. We had a pretty tough winter for Southern California, lots and lots of rain. A lot of the fruit trees have struggled. Here's some new plantings in here. This is a fruit punch mango. Again, I've got a few varieties that are known to be the top of the top, best in class, so to speak. So that is a fruit punch mango. This is a Sugarloaf. I'm gonna have to stake this up. It's leaning due to the wind. Sugarloaf, again, we've got it flowering. Gonna take off any fruit that's set on it. It's too little to carry fruit. We don't want that. And then if we move over here, let me just point out the moringa. I rarely cover the moringas in my tours. Let me call out something for you guys. When you buy a fruit tree, here's a mistake not to make. When you buy a fruit tree, however you find that fruit tree in your local nursery is the condition that that fruit tree is acclimated to. So in other words, I found this moringa tree. It's big. It was a big moringa tree. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. I've got a big tree, but it was sitting in a greenhouse. Now, you take a tree that's lived in a greenhouse and you put it outside, it is most likely going to struggle. Don't do that. And in general, when it comes to moringas, a couple of things I've learned to share with you. Moringas are incredible trees in terms of nutrients and nutrition and just all sorts of aspects that are edible. The leaves you put in salads, the pods are edible. Just a lot of great nutritional value that you can get from the moringa tree. But they're delicate. The roots are delicate. Be very careful when you take it out of the pot. Make sure the roots aren't wet. When you plant it, that will set it back. This is one I bought from, I think this is from Home Depot as well. It's waking up, finally waking up from winter. And this one's gonna be okay. All right, and then the final couple to cover in this area is going to be the mango. This mango is cotton candy. It's a late season mango, beautiful flowers on it. We're not gonna let it set, again, too small. The rule, or what I've learned about when you wanna let a mango tree carry, is when the branches span about 4 feet tall, 4 feet wide, and when the trunk is about 1 inch in diameter. So we're a ways away. Maybe if we get some good growing, it will be ready for next year. And then the last tree we'll cover in this area is a Jamaican cherry tree. Just put this into the ground. We'll see how it does. It has these little berries that some say taste like cotton candy. We'll see. I've seen a lot of videos on it. People rave about this fruit. You won't find it in the stores. Another kind of novelty plant that I like to collect and put into the orchard. We'll see how it responds. But it's supposed to be very vigorous, and I put it in this area to be kind of a shade protector for some of the other trees. It tends to do very well in warm environments and grows very strong and vigorous, as I mentioned. All right, so that is this zone. All right, in this area, I have mostly tropical trees, rubber trees and birds of paradise, palm trees, and all sorts of different varieties of trees. And I really resisted for a long time putting any kind of fruit trees in the area. But where I landed is I'm gonna put tropical trees here. It's a tropical area. They're gonna be protected by these other trees from our intense heat in Southern California, especially inland where I'm at. And they might do very well. So first tree that we'll cover is the hardy kiwi. It's a kiwi berry, and it's doing very well. Put this in the ground this year, and the vines are just growing vigorously. I don't think I'll get fruit this year, but I think we're set up well for next year. So kiwis coming to the orchard soon. Another jaboticaba. This is a red variety. They say these take a little less time to get the fruit. We'll see, but that's in the ground here, doing fine. Got another kiwi. This is the Jenny kiwi. Both of the kiwis are self-fertile, so you want to look out for that. If you're buying a kiwi, you may need a male and a female if you don't get a self-fertile variety. I'm all about trying to economize my orchard, and so I have sought out self-fertile varieties for the most part, so that I'm not dependent upon other trees and I can have a wider variety of trees. This is the first miracle berry that's coming to the orchard. Doing really well. Miracle fruit tree. This actually gave me fruit while it was in the pot. I bought it online, planogram, it came to my house, delivered, perfect condition, and then in about a month or two, produced fruit. Didn't see a flower, but produced about 4 or 5 berries. Since I put it into the ground, it hasn't done much. Didn't like our cold. One thing about a lot of the tropicals is you want to protect it from the cold as much as possible. This is a plant that seems to do very well in a pot if you want to keep this in a pot. But the miracle berry is a berry that changes your taste buds. So it makes sour things sweet. A lemon, you'll be able to eat it raw and it'll taste like sugar. Incredible fruit. So it's a novelty item, kind of a party trick that you can play with your friends. The berry doesn't really taste like much, but again, it is really interesting. I tried it. I saw a lot of videos on it. Didn't believe it till I tried it. It is true. It does change your taste buds. And just one other point, a lot of, they use this for like cancer patients and other patients that have issues with their taste buds. This miracle berry can be used for that purpose, to make food taste better. It's also can be used as a substitute for sugar. So a lot of great applications for miracle berry. Here is what is this? Oh, muscat grape, used to make Moscato wine. And this is the only wine grape that I have in the orchard. So we'll see. Man, these lizards around here are they are prolific. But that's the grape. This is the third banana. This is a dwarf namois. I've been looking all over for this. I found this one on, where is it? Everglade Farms, this dwarf namois. And I've only had this in the ground for about a month or two. This leaf here is new, that's new. This is obviously new. Came with these 2 leaves that were cut for shipping purposes. And it's just done really well. Had really good success buying from a couple online vendors, Planogram and what is the other? Everglade Farms. Got another lychee down there. That is a emperor lychee, supposed to be a dwarf lychee. Again, it's in a protected area, and we'll see how it does. There's Sahara looking around. And then this last one is a razzmatazz grape. It's a red grape, supposed to be delicious. And the little guy's doing all right. We'll see how it goes. And then we'll end this section talking about the passion fruit. What an incredible tree. So I created this passion fruit, or put this passion fruit tree here. Let me show you where I put it. Cut out a little area in this turf. Not even big. I mean, this is about, I don't know, 2 by 1.5. And it is doing just incredibly well. Produces almost year round. Look at that. Creates a nice privacy hedge. Beautiful flowers. This has got to be in the top 10 or top 5 when it comes to beautiful flowers on a fruit tree. That and a pomegranate. But just every 3 months, it goes through a cycle here in my climate where it flowers, produces fruit, the fruit develop, they ripen, they turn purple, they fall off, and then you eat them, or you store them, or you put them in food, or you cook with them. So many great applications, and then it also serves as kind of a privacy hedge, and just incredible. It does grow quite a bit. You want to check with your neighbor and make sure that they're cool with it, because it will grow and latch on to almost anything. But I'm such a big fan of this passion fruit tree. Okay, we're going to end with predominantly berries and pots, and also mangoes, a couple other fruit trees. I've got some cherry trees on the left, a Royal Rainier and a Lampus. That's probably going to, Lampins, that's probably going to replace the multi-bud cherry tree. I've got some mangoes that are going to go into pots. These are Dwarf Hawaiian, and the other one is a Neelam. And so those will go into pots. But the blueberries are the star of the show right now, producing great blueberries. Look at that. Let's walk over here and look at these guys. Hopefully the camera can pick that up. The lighting hasn't been the greatest today. A little bit of June gloom over the last several days. But just blueberries everywhere. Let's move over to this side. Blueberries all over that we've been picking and eating and enjoying. And blueberries are one of my favorite fruit to put into some yogurt and some granola, and it makes a great breakfast snack. I think I'll do a video on that at some point coming up soon. I've got about 6, actually 8 that are in pots, about 6 different, probably 7 different varieties. Look at this guy. This is called a pink lemonade. It's the one over here on the right. It's kind of growing over into this other one. But it produces pink colored blueberries when they're ripe. So it's just another one that's part of my collection of blueberries. I'll show you some more over here on the other side of the pool. And we've got mangoes over here. The mangoes have really struggled this year. Oh my gosh. This was a Neelam, died from wind and dehydration. A lot of times when it gets windy, it dehydrates the tree. We've had so much wind, even though we've had a lot of rain. Very tough conditions for these mangoes. This is a big pot. I wouldn't have put it in a pot this big, by the way. I would have, see what I did here? I put a smaller size pot. Even when I put the new mangoes that are going to go into pots, they're not even going to go into a pot this size. They're going to go into a pot that's smaller, and gradually step it up over time to make sure that the root is growing, the root is compact, that it's getting water. It's going to make it easier to water, easier to keep healthy, and it's going to prolong the time you can keep it in a pot if you step it up bit by bit, versus here putting it in this large pot. That's going to be its forever pot from day one. But anyway, it's trying to produce some fruit. Looks like it's got some powdery mildew on it. We'll see. This is the ice cream. It is an incredible variety. Produced about 10 pieces of fruit last year. It was so good. Here is a Lancetilla that looks like it wants to produce fruit. Large pieces of fruit on it. They grow very, very big. We'll see how it does this year. Sahara, she's a peeper, checking out what's going on with the neighbors. And but anyways, we'll just keep moving over. I've also put some blueberries into the ground here in my tropical zone. This is I want to say peach sorbet. Yeah, peach sorbet. Beautiful color on it. Look at this guy. This is a pink icing. Has one little fruit on there that I could see, but a beautiful, beautiful looking blueberry bush. Look at the colors on it. Spectacular. And then here is another blueberry. I've got a lot of different varieties. I've got Misty, I've got Sunshine, I believe. I've got, oh wow, South Moon is a really good one. That's one that tends to win a lot of flavor tasting or tasting contests for blueberries. South Moon, if you're looking for a great variety. And produces well. I forget what this one is. One of the big ones I showed you over there was a South Moon. And then this is another pink sorbet in a pot. And then check out these berries over here. Before we get to those berries, on the right is another mandarin tree that I'm hoping one of the two holds. I've got the citrus in the back over there, and I'm hoping this one has fruit that holds, because the other mandarin doesn't look like it's gonna hold. I don't know. When they start getting this light green, that's usually not a good sign. Usually means they're gonna fall off and die. So we will see. But here is a success story, and we'll end on this, which is the berries. Raspberry, boysenberry, blackberry. Let's go left to right. We've got, this is called a snowbank blackberry. I just put this in a pot this year, January to March. I'll have to go back and check, but incredible growth. You know, just spectacular in terms of how it's growing. Look at the bees. The bees are on this one. That is oh, back to the snowbank for a second. The snowbank produces a white blackberry. A white blackberry. So that's going to be super interesting when that comes to develops and produces fruit. This one's a Navajo, which is supposed to be one of the best tasting blackberries. So we got the Navajo, and that bee is going to town on it. Yeah, I'll back up. Boysenberry, which is already producing fruit. It's been in here just a couple of months and already producing fruit, growing up into the plants. And then this one is called a jewel raspberry, which produces a black raspberry. So I've got some great kind of novelty blackberries and boysenberry and raspberries to round out the pot collection. So again, I just want to call out the bees. I used to try to pollinate blueberries. Man, that was tough. And the pomegranates and some of the other stone fruits, I don't do any of that anymore. I just let nature do its work. I give it a nice environment for them to come and spend time in the orchard and know that there's going to be food for them year round. They come out as long as the weather's decent, as long as it's above about 60 and not raining. The bees come out of their hive and they go out and they look for food. And the thing about bees is they don't want to just eat one thing. I know they're looking like they're just gravitating all over this wandering plant, but they want variety. They want diversity, just like we need as people, kind of diversity of our food supply. So do the bees. And so they may hover over one particular plant that they like the most, just like we do. But we also have a well-rounded meal that's going to have, you know, not just protein and not just, you know, the vegetables and everything else. It's going to have that nice variety where you're getting a little bit for that well-balanced meal. Bees want the same thing. And so just a good lesson in terms of don't just think about your fruit trees, think about your overall environment that you are creating, your ecosystem, your micro ecosystem that you are creating, your microsystem of how you want to make sure and ensure that it is becomes self-sufficient, that it is a environment that you'll have, as Sahara greets her her neighbor dog next door. You have an environment that is hospitable to nature and to insects and to birds, and just create this nice, lavish, lush environment for your fruit trees to thrive. So anyways, thanks for joining, and appreciate you checking it out. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. Helps support the channel, helps get more exposure of what we're doing here at Urgent Backyard Orchards. This is Michael. Hope you have a fantastic day wherever you are in the country, wherever you are in the world, and just encourage you to pursue your passions, do it with integrity, and do something for yourself and do something for someone else. All right, y'all, I'm gonna sign off. Have a great one. Take care.